So it's been quite a while since my last upload here on YouTube, but glad to finally be back. This fat fluffy hamster was just kind of busy dealing with work and stuff, but I'm finally here, and I'll show you a really neat way to really randomize your terminal at every startup or every instance of your terminal. But if you're here for the first time, you never seen any of the content, please give a like and a sub. As you can see, the background is always Rin. If she's hot, whatever, hit like and a sub, please. So let's start this off. I'll walk through with what exactly I'm spicing up the terminal with here. So let's start it here. So you can see here, when the terminal loads, I never print out neo fetch, but I just do it here just to show you the color palette. Now let's close that and let's open another one. So you see here, every instance of the terminal, it changes the color scheme. And this was actually a request from one of you guys, one of the awesome subs that I have. And I spent probably a couple hours writing this, and it's funny, the last bit of time that I spent on that, I had the incorrect file name. So it's always very important to read what you're doing. Anyway, so let me just walk you through the steps that I take to do this. So if you know the suckless software in ST, it is really meant to be configured through the source code, right? It's not really meant to be configured outside of that. But I found a way using pywal, which is the wallpaper scanner that sort of creates a color palette based on the colors found within a wallpaper. I found that this tool actually can accept color schemes. So I thought to myself, hey, why don't I just generate my own color scheme, and then I write it in the same format as what pywal wants, and I feed that into pywal, and then I just make my own color scheme, and it actually works out pretty nicely. So if we see, start another one, let's get another random theme here. So everything that I have here basically works through pywal. So let's go through the script first here. So let's do a nano dot scripts slash rice. Okay, so it's a very easy script. It's not complicated. It's only 30 lines of code, 40, a little under 40. So what do I first do? I create an empty array here. And so for the coloring, since I wanted to make it random, I just created 16 random colors in hex form here. Then what I do here, this is kind of important because I also had the problem where the wallpaper kept getting reset, because I didn't know that if you do not feed a wallpaper to pywal, it will just not give you a wallpaper. So I would suggest first applying a wallpaper and then linking that here. So this is all in JSON, and this is the structure of it here. So you first give it the wallpaper, the alpha setting here, and then you have these special colors here. Now, I'm not too sure what these are for. At first I thought it was for the cursor in the prompt, but nothing really seems to change. I haven't noticed where these go, so I just left them at 0, 0, which is just black. But anyway, here is where we actually begin to define the colors on the next line. So I first define the first color, because the first color is the color that ST will use as its background. So the first color, I tried to make it a sort of neutral color that would fit under any circumstance, so that when you get a color palette, it's not, washed out or anything. But sometimes it does happen, of course, because it's random. Everything is completely random here. I'm not really doing much, but anyway. So that's why I set the first color here to my own color, which is kind of like a black color here. So anyway, I then loop through the array, and then I'm starting to build this JSON string, this huge string, which is just housing 16 colors. And I give it an index, and then I add the actual hex color here, the value. And then once that's done, I just combine it, and I fix up the JSON string, the entire thing, and I make it pretty using JQ, and I send it out here, and I write it to this file because pywal has to read in this file, and I also needed it for debugging just to make sure that what I was doing was correct. And it's funny because I wrote this pretty quickly, but I had a small error in, I think it was a bracket or something, or a comma, I can't remember, and I also had the wrong file name on the wallpaper. My wallpaper wasn't loading, so I said, you know, in my mind I was like, what's going on here? This is kind of crazy. But it's always very important to leave a trail to debug at some point, even when it's something so simple like this. But anyway, then finally I call here wall, and I give it the quiet mode so that when the terminal loads up, it does not give you any output. I try not to change the wallpaper. E is supposed to if I'm understanding correctly from the devs, according to them, E is supposed to not change any previous settings, but it does it anyway. So I just kept it in there, but it can be removed. It doesn't really do much. And then -F is where it's going to now look for the theme. And this is also very important here because if you were to run this script within the terminal and you have this random color theme JSON file right there, it'll run fine. But if you try to call it from somewhere else, then it will not load this file correctly. This is also very important. But anyway, that's it for the script. I'll link it below so you guys can try it. So let's load another one here. And we can see that once this one started here, it changed all of them. So every terminal will then change to this theme here as you load more. So they all kind of follow each other. But anyway, so the final thing that you need to do is go into your bash RC here. And this is what I meant by some of the colors sometimes don't exactly sort of match so well with the background. But in general, most of the time it does. So what I do here is that I go into this if statement. So I always check what's the terminal running, because maybe I'm not running ST. But anyway, so if it's ST, I want to set the transparency. I set my prompt, and then I created this alias called rice here. And this is what actually calls the script. And then I have the path here to that script so that it can run it at each start of the terminal. So it really makes your terminal use really interesting to load up a random theme at start. I'm not too sure how this would work on other terminals because I only tested this on ST, and it might actually be easier to do this in a generic terminal like GNOME, because those are meant to change on the fly, literally. So you might be able to write even simpler script, or you just like set the colors and point it and then call some function and then it loads again. So this might actually be easier on another terminal, but I'm not too sure. I'll put everything in the description below, but that's about it for this one. I hope that you guys find it useful. It was really fun writing this. It took not too long, but again, it's very important to leave a trail of possible debugging methods, because just even a simple file name could really give you a headache like I had yesterday. But that's about it for this. I really hope that you appreciate and find this content useful, and I would also greatly appreciate if you would give a like and a sub for the fat hamster.